you know, and I would tell her, you need to calm down before you do anything, because she was
I'm still very opinionated.
She's very opinionated.
But that's because when all my life I never was able to be opinionated. When I was a young kid, I used to have to go into the bathroom and hit the walls or whatever I wanted, or go out to the fields and scream at the top of my lungs, or cry when I wanted to cry. Because we were not allowed to do that in front of our parents or in front of our siblings. You know, if our brothers said, "Iron my pants," you just smile and you just go do it. So I'm really good at stuffing. And when we got married, it was so funny. Hector was asking me to marry him, and I looked at...
You were 19, right?
Mm-hmm. So he asked me to marry him when we were 17. And you know, he's of course on his knees, and he's like, you know, "I'd like for you to be my wife," and blah, blah, blah. And I looked at him and I said, "Are you sure? Are you absolutely sure you want to do this?" And he looked at me and he goes, "I'm trying to be romantic." And I go, "No, I'm trying to be realistic." I said, "Are you aware that I do not make lunches for my husband? I will not iron for you. I will not be at your whim. I am a woman and I want to marry a man. I'm not your mother. If you want a mother to baby you, to cook for you, to iron for you, to pack your lunch for you, you need to stay home. Because if I want to have somebody to do that for, I will have a child. But I don't want to marry a child. Are you sure that you really want to marry me?"
So what made you think that you had to ask him that?
Because I wanted him to be prepared for what was coming ahead. That even though I wasn't able to say anything or do anything in my home at the present time, that would not always be the case. That when I got married and I started my own home, I was going to be the boss. And I wanted to share the responsibility with my husband. I wanted him to be the boss. I wanted us to take a journey together. I did not want to be somebody's slave.
I'd watch my dad, and my mom would do everything he wanted to. And the same thing with her brothers. You know, her mom would let them do whatever they wanted.
So did it kind of rile you up that she was so fiery?
Not really, because I understood. You know, you got to understand.
No, but did you like that about her?
Yeah, that's exactly why, you know, attracted me to her, because she was different. She was fiery. The rest of the sisters didn't do anything the husbands want them to do.
Still,
you know?
today.
Mm-hmm.
Today, you know, and oh yeah, whatever he wants, that's what I'll do. And I said, "Excuse me, could you elaborate? Can you tell me what you want? You know, I don't want to know what he wants. I already know that, but I want you to tell me."
You know, I remember him saying, you know, "If I want a dog to do what I want at all times," he goes, "I'll buy a dog."
Yeah,
He said, "But I don't want a dog." He goes, "I want a wife who will be a participant in my life."
and you know, I'm
Which was
attracted
really,
to stronger
I was
women,
very impressed.
you know, with it, to have their own opinion. I am, you know, and I like that in a woman, to be independent, and that's what I wanted to teach Bernadette, that she doesn't really need a man unless she wants a companion and a partner and a friend, you know. And I think we try to live that way, because most of the time she's my best friend. We still hang around together. We still do. I see other couples, they don't do the same things we do. You know, I have friends that tell me, "Why are you with your wife? Don't you have anything other things to do than be with her?" I said, "Why? You know, I could talk to her, tell her anything I want. I can't tell somebody else that." When we first got married, her problem was her temper. She had a real bad temper.
I did.
And I would say, "You know what? I'm not going to argue with you. I'm not going to be here. Better one than two." You know, so she'd get really angry because I walk out on her. You know, and then I'd come back and I would always come back and ask, "Now you ready to have a good talk about what you're angry about?" And then she'd start telling me, and then the anger would pass, because she didn't really know what she was angry about. Maybe she was angry about something other than what we were discussing, but it just triggered her off, you know. And I learned to accept her for that, you know, because I know her quick temper. You know, you learn people, And if you become friends, you know, whatever they say, you know, she really doesn't mean it or didn't mean it at the time because she was angry. As long as you, I believe that if you love that person enough and you're willing to find out why they're angry, you know, and stop the, you know, you get angry and you start yelling, they just stop the shouting and all that other stuff and say, wait a minute, I'm not going to listen to this anymore, and walk away. And then come back later and say, okay, now that you're calmer, you know, talk about it. And don't yell at it, out about it, because it never leads to anything right away.
So what advice would you give to parents to be good parents?
If you see them, something's wrong, talk to them. You know, the communication gap is large as if the parents let it go. We never let Bernadette stray too far. If she had a problem, I said, what's the matter? I'm the kind of person that I like to hug her, play with her, kiss her, and say, I love you. And she's not used to that. You know, some people aren't used to that, you know, especially the young kids. How many times you see a kid and I would ask them, did anybody tell you I love you today? And they would say, no, nobody's told me that. And we made it a habit to tell our nieces and nephews that. And I think with that, you get that bond, that rapport with them, and they reciprocate. They tell you that I love you, you know, and that's a hard word to say to anybody, you know.
I think that parents, it's not just having a child. It's actually putting the time to teach that child, to make that child be an active part of a community, to be a wholesome person, to be a person that's self-assured. She is an asset to our community. That is my success. That is his success as a father.
Your success as a team.
Our success as a team, but his as a father, because that is so important for a girl and for a boy too, but more so for a girl, I think, to see a positive male role so that she perhaps could choose a good partner for herself. And then to be able to see the way that I was attentive to her and tried to teach her the best that I could on how to be a woman and how to be a partner in a relationship. You need to teach your children that there's structure, and that rather than buy a toy so that I can entertain my child, I would rather communicate with my child and play with my child with that toy.
You kind of learn by doing the opposite of your parents.
Total opposite.
And so now Bernadette's having, you know, good role models.
Hopefully.
And so then what about the generation after that? If you had to give, you know, one word of advice to, let's say not even your grandkids, let's say your great-grandkids, you know, what advice would you give them?
Well, I think just accepting yourself for who you are, okay? And
know your limitations.
And know your limitations, but know that, you know, of what your goals are, of what you want to achieve. And, you know, society rates everybody according to economics. And if I had great-grandchildren, I would like them to know that it doesn't matter where you work and how much money you bring in. As long as you are happy with yourself and you're trying the best that you can, you know, that's all what more could I possibly want? What more could I possibly expect from anybody? Is just being able to do the best that you can and not cop out. Just because you had a bad childhood doesn't mean that now you're going to turn around and abuse little children because you were abused as a child. It's not right. You know, you have to know that this is an awful chain that has been developed, and you have the opportunity to break that chain. And it's your responsibility. And it's my responsibility to raise a good young lady to be an asset to society and to herself. And the day that Hector and I are gone, that she will be able to smile and go on and be a good person and not wallow in her sadness. It's not fair. It's not right. Be your own person, and so what if you work at McDonald's? You're working. You're not on the welfare line. You're not asking for handouts. You might, and everyone has times in their life that they need help. You go ask for your help when you need it. There's nothing wrong in that. just try and be as happy as you can. And always look at your glass, and this is what I always say to everybody, look at your glass half full, not half empty.